is, I thought. You're a police officer, she said. You used to come in my father's restaurant in the French Quarter. But you're from New Iberia. That's where my family is from, too, after Italy, I mean. I used to be a police officer. You not one anymore? Sometimes I am. She had hazel eyes that went away from you in a sleepy fashion, then came back as though she were waking from a dream. What does sometimes mean? I was fired from NOPD. Getting fired is my modus operandi. Fired for what? I was drunk. You're not now, are you? A drunk is a drunk. I tried to smile. Her gaze remained fixed on Johnny Shondell, her lips parting, and I knew she was no longer listening to me. I also knew my problems weren't worth talking about and were part of the chemically induced narcissism that every boozer carries with him like a sacred flame. It was nice seeing you, Miss Isolde, I said. You believe in Kismet? Where'd you hear of Kismet? At the movies. Do you believe in it? I think it's Arabic for God's will. I'm no expert about things like that. My family has hated the Shondells for 400 years. That's a little unusual. Her face sharpened. They burned my ancestor. Pardon? At the stake. In chains. They put nails through his mouth so he couldn't talk. Then they made him suffer as much as they could. I stared at her. You don't believe me? She said. Sure. That's why I think the Shondells should be killed. Killed? Or blown up? Or something? So why are you here watching Johnny? He's delivering me to his Uncle Mark. I didn't want to hear anymore. The Belanzi family was trouble. Their ways arcane and some said incestuous. Take care of yourself, kid. That's all you have to say? Yeah, I replied. Then fuck you. There is no human being who can become angrier than an injured teenage girl. I winked at her and walked away. That night I slept with the windows open in a salt-eaten, wood-framed 1940s motel room. I heard the waves pounding on the beach, devouring the sand, as though the tide was sliding backward in mockery of itself. Chapter 2. I was scheduled to visit a convict in Huntsville at 11 a.m., but I didn't show up until 4 in the afternoon because I idled away the morning in Herman Park Zoo and also watched some boys play softball. I wasn't looking forward to my visit with an inmate named Marcel Lafourchette, and I was tired of evil and all its manifestations and our attempts to explain its existence. If you've ever dealt with evil, a real deal, up close and personal, you know what I mean. How do you explain the hillside strangler Ted Bundy? Childhood trauma? Maybe. When you read the details of what they did, you feel a sadness and a sense of revulsion that makes you wonder if we all descend from the same tree. I don't mean Marcel was a ghoul or he would sexually torture and murder a woman or girl the way Bundy did. Marcel was made out of different clay. I just didn't know what. He was from the little town of Jeanneret down the bayou from New Iberia and came from a background not much different than mine. Poor illiterate Cajuns like my mother who worked in a laundry and my father who trapped and fished and racked pipe on the monkey board of an offshore drilling rig. I graduated high school when I was 17. At the same age and the same year, Marcel started a 3-to-5 bit in an adult prison for Grand Auto. When he was still a fish, he was cannibalized and made the punk of a half-dozen degenerates. You know what was oddest about Marcel? He never got tattooed, and this was in an environment where men wear sleeves from the wrist to the armpit as an indicator of their jailhouse mileage. The other peculiarity about Marcel was his eyes. They were turquoise, the radiance trapped inside them so intense you couldn't read them. His thoughts could have been ethereal in nature or straight from the Marquis de Sade, but few people wanted to find out.